You don't want to miss this episode. It's our June update, the first update since the Canadian election. How has that affected things? What's going on with the markets? What's going on with Bitcoin, real estate, the economy? We're going to dig into it right now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Control and Compound. I'm Darren Mitchell. Joining me as always, Christina Wyatt. Christina, how you doing today?
Hey, Darren, I'm doing great. We're heading into our summer months. I love summer. We're starting to see some nicer weather around here. Not great, but it's getting better. So we're heading into those summer months with the June update. I love it.
Oh, I love it. I can't. The grass is green. The golf courses are open. People are outside, other than when it's raining. I was in Toronto last week. Should have parked. I should have packed a parka. It was, I would tell people, I go, the spring weather in Canada is like the price of Bitcoin. If you don't like it, just check back in 15 minutes.
Pretty much.
All right, Christina, let's dig into the monthly update. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So I had mentioned it earlier. I can't believe that this is our first update since the election happened last month. So we had our update shortly before it. So kind of reviewing what happened in the month of May. Well, from a Bank of Canada side of things, where we typically start, we haven't had an announcement yet. So our last announcement was April 16th, where interest rates stayed the same. So the Bank of Canada rate is 2.75, prime rate's 4.95%. It was unchanged. So that was the first time that they didn't make any changes since mid 2024, right? So people were a little bit surprised by that. They were obviously hoping for another cut. It remained the same. The reason for that, we had a lot of uncertainty happening at the time, which we've talked about. Now, what are they talking about for our next announcement? Because it is coming up fairly quickly. June 4th is when they're going to make that next announcement. And expectations are kind of leaning towards maintaining the current rate. They're suggesting that with persistent core inflation, which we'll talk about in a minute, core inflation is it's kind of up. Our labor market is not doing so bad. So they're saying it could probably stay the same. We're not going to see a rate cut. Now, down the road, what's going to happen? Well, we are seeing economists say that, later this year, we might have a softening labor market. There's going to be an economic slowdown with everything that's happening. And then we might see those cuts start happening again. They're saying maybe two more this year, but not right away. So we've got trade tensions slowing, things like that, de escalations, all that kind of stuff. So most people are saying that we don't expect big changes in this announcement. If anything, we might see a couple more rate cuts later in the year. Now, I mentioned inflation, which is a major driver whenever we talk about the Bank of Canada rates. Well, it was typically. And if we look at Canada's annual inflation rates in the month of April, because that's the data that we have, well, it decreased to 1.7%, which sounds great, down from 2.3% in March, right? But if we look at core inflation, like because those numbers really came from the removal of the consumer carbon tax, right? That's where we saw that. But if we look at core inflation, the CPI trim actually increased from 2.9 to 3.1, and the CPI median rose from 2.8 to 3.2, marking the highest level since March 2024. So really looking at the core inflation, things, it's not looking as good. Some notable category changes include food prices, as always, for the regular Canadian, are up 3.8% year over year. Gasoline prices are down with that consumer carbon tax reduction or takeaway. And travel has increased 6.7% year over year. So travel tour prices. So just kind of looking at some things across, but looking at actual core inflation, we've seen that increase. So I'm not sure if we'll see that cut or not, but that's coming up June 4th is when we'll get more information there.
I thought things were crashing to the end of the world was coming, and the tariffs were gonna mess us all up, and the Canadian economy was gonna tank.
It was our
Eh,
biggest crisis. It was the biggest crisis we've experienced in quite some time, I remember in the headlines, right? But it seems it's moving right along. May has come and gone and we've seen some changes, but I haven't seen anything crazy as of yet.
well, I did hear Parliament was gonna sit for 20 days before they take the summer off, so, they'll hopefully be able to deal with all the crisis during those for 20 days and then take summer off.
I know. Take a vacation during a crisis, right? So moving on to the Canadian dollar, what's going on there? Well, as of today, so we're recording this May 30th, the dollar is trading at 72 cents. Now we were almost at 73 cents just a few days ago, but it did take a dip when some US economic data came out and it was stronger than expected. We've also seen a little bit of oil price volatility over the last month. So back on May, well, just a couple days ago, oil prices dropped by 1.4% to $61 a barrel. That took a little bit of a hit to our loonie. We've also got those interest rate differentials between Canada and the US, with Bank of Canada holding rates steady. The Fed is kind of evolving with their rates. We also have the easing trade tensions that could be happening with the decision to block some new tariffs. So right now, if we look at analysts are actually saying, with us getting closer to that 73 cents at the end of the month, we could see an increase to the loonie. They're thinking maybe like 74 cents by the end of the year. So nothing huge, but we like to see it go up. But again, it all comes down to what's going to happen on June 4th with the big Canada announcements, what's going to happen with those tariffs, what's going to happen with oil. So lots of moving parts here when it comes to the loonie.
All right. Jump into the stock markets. Again, the end of the world was coming. Well, again, wait another month. The S&P 500, the US was up 7% in the last month. So it's up just under 1% for the year. Canada was up 6% month to date, so it's up 5.6% year to date. So stock markets didn't collapse. Things seem to be going well. Bitcoin, no, it's been an exciting month for Bitcoin. And again, we're not recommending Bitcoin. We're not Bitcoin experts. We just think it's fun to talk about. So for any of you out there that say, oh, I wish I had bought Bitcoin when and all that stuff. Well, May 22nd was the 15th anniversary of Pizza Day. And Pizza Day was the first day ever that cryptocurrency was used as an exchange to actually buy something. And the guy's name is famous, Laszlo. Hey, Laszlo. We'll just call him Laszlo with a long last name. He bought 2 pizzas 15 years ago for 10,000 Bitcoin. And that was the first time cryptocurrency was ever used as an exchange. For those of you doing math at home, 10,000 Bitcoin is the equivalent of about $1.5 billion Canadian.
That's an expensive pizza.
So now it was 2 pizzas.
Oh, okay.
It was 2 pizzas for 10,000. So 1.5 billion Canadian for 2 pizzas. So for those of you that, oh, I should have done this, or I missed out on this stock or this opportunity. Well, at least you didn't buy 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we saw it skyrocket this month. It's up to like 108,000, up significantly in the month. But I think the interesting thing on the Bitcoin is who's buying it. And we talked about institutional companies or institutional people buying it. And I think just as important as institutions is what I have to call, the insiders, the people that you would think know what's going on. So if we look in the last month, some of the big Bitcoin moves, we've got Donald Trump Jr. Talked about debanking and censorship drove them into cryptocurrency, and Truth Social, the Trump organization, they're raising $2.5 billion to buy Bitcoin as a reserve, like strategy has done Michael Saylor. So they're following that strategy. We get Howard Lutnick, Cantor Fitzgerald, who happens to be the Commerce Secretary in the U.S. His company that his son runs now, they just launched a $2 billion Bitcoin lending platform to do lending with Bitcoin. So $2 billion there. They also announced a couple months ago, we announced a big Bitcoin raise. They Cantor Fitzgerald partnered with a couple other firms to do a big Bitcoin deal. We got Vivek Ramaswamy. He was the founder of Strive Asset Management and ran for the leader of the Republicans before he stepped aside. His company just raised $750 million for a Bitcoin strategy. And when we look at some of the companies buying it, of course, we've mentioned Strategy and Trump Media. GameStop bought 4,700. Strategy, Michael Saylor's company, they just put another $2 billion into Bitcoin. They now have over 500,000 Bitcoin. There's only 21 million ever going to be made, and there's one company out there that's now holding 500,000. BlackRock, largest fund company in the world. They just bought 275,000 Bitcoin. Sorry, they bought more. Now they own 275,000 Bitcoin, which makes them one of the largest institutional owners. So you take those two firms with 750,000 Bitcoin, just those two firms. So lots of stuff going on in the Bitcoin world, up significantly in the month, 108,000. Remember, literally 6 weeks ago was around 75,000. So
Imagine
massive
all the
up.
pizza that they can buy.
Oh, well, what was it? I think two pizzas. You could buy a billion pizzas for like two Bitcoin now instead of two pizzas for 10,000. What about real estate, Christina? We got lots of real estate people listening. Any light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, well, as it typically is in Canada, real estate is a bit of a mixed bag between the provinces that you go. So, we've got some provinces that are seeing declines where we're seeing some have increases. So it really is depending on where you are in Canada, it could be different for you. So, if we look nationally at what's happening out there, well, for home prices, the national average home price was around 702,000 in April, which is a 0.7% decrease from March and about a 3.6% decline year over year. So that's the national average. Now, sales activity, the adjusted home sales or seasonally adjusted home sales totaled about 36,000 in April, which is a slight decrease, like literally zero point 0.1 from March, and a 7.5% decline from April of last year. So we are seeing sales activity is a little bit down. And inventory levels nationally, we're seeing active listings reach about 183,000 at the end of April, which is up 14.3% year over year. But still below the long-term average of around 201,000. So that's looking right across the country. So it's not really doom and gloom. Things are a bit down, but it's nothing crazy. We don't have a ton of dips. If we look at regional highlights, so what does it look like in the different provinces? Like I said, things look different. So if we go out to Alberta, their average home price was 525,000 in April, so that was a 0.1 increase from March, but a 5% year over year increase out in Alberta. Nova Scotia, we reached a new high of about 478,000 for the average home price, which is 0.2 increase from March and up 2% year over year. Now we look at this is where you're hearing about, some of the downsides in real estate right now. If we go to British Columbia, their average home price decreased 2.1% month over month to 942,000, and it's down 6% compared to April of last year. So they're seeing some lowering of averages. And Ontario, same kind of thing. They're at 859,000 in April, which is a zero point 0.1 decrease from March, but down 4.5% year over year. Now, sales activity increased by 18.9% month over month in Ontario, but was 20% lower than last April. So we're seeing things come back up, but there definitely was a decrease in the average home price in some of those provinces that have seen extreme increases, right, over the last few years. So overall, if we're looking at the Canadian real estate market, it's a mix of stabilization, variability, right? We can see different provinces are seeing modest growth and modest price increases. We do have some year over year declines or decreases. So mixed bag, like I said. If we look at some things that real estate investors might be interested in, I did see that some REITs are really showing resilience. So Morguard Real Estate Investment Trust declared a distribution of 2 cents per unit in this May. So that indicates some stability in the real estate investment trust sector, despite what's happening, in the market uncertainties. So seeing those things are always good. And then another big thing that happened this month that everybody was talking about was the Hudson's Bay Company announcing their closure of all their department stores across Canada effective June 1st, and Canadian Tire acquiring them. Now, if you think of it, how many department store or how many big malls have you gone to where there has been a Hudson's Bay, a large portion of that mall? I know right here in Dartmouth, we're going to see a big empty space starting in June, and that's right across the country. So that's a big, significant shift in the Canadian retail landscape. How is that impacting real estate investors? Well, if you think of it, it really we're going to have some short term for larger REITs and commercial real estate development. We're going to see some changes there, right? It's going to create some challenges. You're going to see short-term vacancies, maybe lower mall traffic in some of these places. But there's also going to be some opportunities with this, I think, because we're going to be seeing some redevelopment, some adaptive reuse, mixed use. So a lot of people are thinking there might be some mixed use in some of these spaces that are coming available. So, I think there could be some opportunity. So if you're investing in commercial real estate or REITs, it's worth monitoring municipality zoning changes and incentives for redevelopment. We might see some stuff there. Watching for joint venture announcements between REITs and developers, and tracking how malls or landlords manage space turnover and repositioning. Because I think this could be a bit of a change in the commercial real estate market.
Residential mall, or turn the malls into residential or commercial. Absolutely, I could see that. I was actually happy about Hudson Bay sticking around, at least the brand, or in some sense, the name. It is Canada's oldest company, and, the fact that Canadian Tire bought Canada's oldest company is kinda cool. So, not perfect, but better than Hudson Bay just going away completely. I thought that was kinda nice. Alright, so if we look at sort of the economic news, what anything exciting going on out there? Well, we did have the king in town. King Charles was in town to deliver the throne speech, and a lot of press and pomp for that. And then that same day, the government also just released the spending numbers for the year. So Carney was gonna get control of spending after Trudeau was overspending, and he was gonna spend that 2% increases, gonna limit government program or government agencies to 2%. Well, apparently the government agencies didn't get the memo. Um, they announced the spending for the upcoming year is scheduled to rise 7.75% for the 130 federal agencies. And overall, the government's going to ask Parliament to vote on 229.9 billion of spending measures, which is a 14% increase over Trudeau's numbers last year. So a 14% increase in spending. So again, he just got elected. We'll give him some time, see what he can do. But I was a little surprised the first spending announcement was a massive increase. And then I thought this was interesting. The OECD, they do Canadian economic surveys on what economists think's going to happen in the economy, and they're forecasting growth in Canada to really be almost stagnant. They're looking at 1% for 2025, and the second quarter to be flat. Now, other economists are predicting maybe a negative quarter or two in a row, which is technically a recession. The labor market's a big concern. They expect that to deteriorate in the next 2 years. You mentioned that earlier, Christina. Unemployment rate's expected to hit 7.1% this year and 7.3% next year. It's currently at 6.9%. So significant loss expected in the manufacturing sector. So again, hopefully things turn around. Hopefully we can weather the storm and then come out the other side stronger. But we'll see. I'm not a big fan of massive government spending. And I think a lot of those jobs in the last couple of years have been government jobs. So hopefully we're not going to keep expanding the government as much as we have been, but private sector is going to have to step up unless we're going to see those increase in unemployment rates. And then in industry news, I thought this was neat. So we did a podcast on Manulife's Vitality, and this is their product where if you're in good health, you get rewarded, and you can go if you go to the gym or you get so many steps in, or you get your blood work done every year, you get rewards, and you can actually save on premium. Well, they were celebrating 9 years in Canada with Vitality, but Manulife actually owns John Hancock, an American company, and they launched Vitality in the John Hancock first. So 10 years ago, they launched it in John Hancock. 9 years ago, they launched it in Manulife, their Canadian operations. So they released some numbers for those 10 years. And it was really cool what they did. It was actually the people that bought this got better health outcomes. The people that bought Vitality, because it's one of those things. If you want to improve something, track it, measure it. So people that were tracking and measuring their fitness, their health, their blood work, they actually saw improvements. So 80% of the members that participated over a 10-year period saw similar or improved health, which is pretty significant. 52% with high blood pressure and 63% with high cholesterol brought levels into a healthy range. That's really impressive. 45% saw BMI reductions, and 15% moved from the overweight category to the healthy category. Engaged members, those who are actually using the app and doing that, averaged 10,000 steps per day, which was 230 billion steps total. Increased mental health engagement, 5 million minutes spent on their mental health program that they can access through the program. They had a bunch of early cancer detections, literally saving lives, which was pretty cool. And 90% of the people that participated, in other words, you didn't just sign up and do nothing, but actually tracked it and did it. 90% of them earned some premium savings. So again, if you do this, you can earn a premium savings. So I thought that was real interesting. I think it does two things. One, you track it, you improve your health. But I think the benefit for the insurance company is they also attract typically healthier people. And if we think of premiums and dividends are a function of claims, death benefits, we want the healthy people. So I commend Manulife for trying to attract healthy people, and then whether they're healthy or not when they start, to give them options to improve their health and track it. So it was the first to come out doing this, and 10 years in now, huge success. So that was neat industry news.
Yeah, that is it's funny because I think back, I probably would have got like when they first came out, you get it on your term insurance. And I must have a term 10 or something that's like 9 years old at this point because it when it first came out and I wanted to try it out. And I'll tell you, like I'm one of these statistics for sure because me and Jordan, my husband, we compete with each other to who's going to get platinum. And I talk to my clients; they're the same way. They compete to who's going to get to platinum first in the run of the year, and checking those cholesterol. Like they'll actually send the nurse to your health every year. Me or Jordan will have this around the same time. We get the nurse to come out and do the health check for us, and it does tell you about your cholesterol, things like that. So you're like, oh well, I gotta, if something were to pop up, you'd be like, okay, well, I gotta get that in check, and you can definitely do it. But since having it, I've absolutely increased my steps, like tracking my steps, making sure that I hit the platinum every year, so I get my free hotel stays and stuff. And then I know that it started with term, but just a couple years ago, they started with the par policies as well, the participating that we use for infinite banking. And I'm starting to see some of the dividends pay out now on these policies because it's been a couple years. And there is quite an increase in cash. Like they are giving out higher dividends and cash values for this. So it's super unique to see an insurance company rewarding people for being healthy. But I think it's really cool. So I'm glad you brought this up. I was excited to see it's been that long that it's been around, but it's still we're still seeing it grow momentum more than ever.
Yeah, very cool. And then when we jump to industry news, we Christina Wyatt, Control and Compound's own, had a phenomenal live presentation at the Real Estate Investors Summit in Halifax. She shared a stage with Michelle Romano and a bunch of other speakers, and Christina crushed it. I'll tell you how good it was. The organizer, I was in Croatia and on a cruise ship, thinking I'm having a good week, and then I get a text from the organizer saying, "Don't bother coming back. Christina killed it." So congratulations, Christina. The whole team was happy and proud to see what a great job he did. So thanks for that. But speaking of other conferences, we did have a little hiccup this past month. We We had a team of, I think, eight of us from Control and Compound. We're heading up to Toronto to the Power Host Conference, and I was going to be on stage for that with some big speakers. That was postponed. We found out 2 days before the event, so that was postponed till the fall. So we'll see what comes of that. But so that one didn't happen. We got nothing to update there. And I think last month we said we'll be doing a live podcast at the Powerhouse, but I walked by the Metro Toronto Convention Center when I was there, but they weren't letting me in to do a podcast. And then, Christina, why don't you talk about a little sneak peek for something we got coming up?
Yeah. So for those of you that listen to us regularly, you've heard our Rockefeller series start coming out. We're teaching more and more about the Rockefeller strategy using high cash value life insurance with a combination of family trusts to really create some legacy planning. So over the next couple months, we're going to be putting together a Rockefeller mastermind. And this is going to be an online, virtual, but live event where you can ask questions. I'm not going to announce it yet, but there's going to be some big speakers outside of Darren and myself. Like we'll definitely be there, but we're going to have some really great speakers come on that are specialists in this. It's going to be great. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to keep going with our Rockefeller series. We have our Rockefeller webinar that you can go on. If you click the links below, you can check that out for now and stay tuned because it's going to take a little bit to get together, but we're getting very excited for it. And we'll be launching that soon so that you can get your ticket for the mastermind.
Very cool. And then speaking of podcast, what did we do last month?
So last month we went back to our roots and we did what is infinite banking. I was really excited to do this one, kind of go back to the beginning and go through what infinite banking is, just kind of very solid, just what's infinite banking. So we did that one. We also had Pat McGyver on to talk about group insurance, which was really cool for business owners. If you're thinking about group plans or dental plans for your employees, you're definitely going to want to listen to that one. We had our Rockefeller series. This one was really good. And I think if you are a corporate business owner, you absolutely need to go back and listen to what happens to my business when I die. I had a
Mhm.
lot of people reach out to me afterwards with questions on this one, and wanting to dig a little bit more into their planning. And I think that's great. We need to be, learning more about what happens with our business and being more hands on. So if you're a business owner, go back and listen to that one. And the 5 a.m. Club book review. That one was fun. I love that book. So it's always nice when we do a book that we both enjoy. So we did the 5 a.m. Club book review. Go back and check that out. If you're getting up at 10 a.m. and losing your day, you want to go back and check that one out.
My wife said to me the other morning, she goes, "Yeah, I woke up and I was like, it's 5 a.m. Why don't I just get out of bed like Christina?" And I was, well, I'm glad you listened to the podcast, honey. That's lovely. Yeah, no, I like that 5 a.m. club. It's amazing the successful people you see. Uh, I like you're at a function or something. People start looking at their watch. It's like, ooh, it's almost 9 o'clock. I don't know if I gonna be staying much longer because I'm gonna be up at 5. Yeah, I enjoyed that. And then this month, and I really enjoyed the Pat McGyver. Pat's just a lovely guy, our group insurance guy. This month, excited for this one. We've got Joe DePenta. Joe is our EOS implementer. He's the guy that helps us with our EOS. We actually just met yesterday with Joe for a full day with the leadership team to do our quarterly review, which is always just gives us energy, keeps us on track. So we love that. Joe's also a former Stanley Cup champion. So we talk a little bit about that in the podcast. We compare hockey stories, him being good and me being no good. Other than that, it was fun. We have a Rockefeller part 3, which is gonna be great, and then, this one I really enjoyed. Is one policy enough, or should I have multiple policies? And we talked about how to build an IBC system, or should you just have one big policy? When does it make sense to have multiple policies? So we really dug into the details of that, so I'm looking forward to that one. And that is, I can't believe it, the June update. Next time we see you, it'll be the July update, or next time we see you for an update, July update. Years flying by. We're having a great time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching this episode of Control and Compound. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you never miss a new episode. And if you're ready to learn more, head to our website, controlandcompound.com. The link's below.